Welcome, gamers, to this week's episode of Last Call Gaming. We're on episode number 170. Today is June 15th. My name is Craig Perales. Joining me, Mandrew Montemayor. And just want to say we were off from the last week only because we were kind of saving up because we knew the whole Summer Game Fest. What was the other one called? Was
Geoff Keighley's Summer of Games, IGN's Game Fest, and then the couple
Microsoft,
other
Starfield, Ubisoft, Capcom. So there's a whole big thing. We decided to just kind of put it to the end of this week, and we can kind of recap as we do. And I do want to give a shout out because the other day was DeAndrew's birthday, so we did hung out and had some fun. So happy birthday to DeAndrew! But since I haven't seen you in a week, how have you been, sir?
Good. I did text Deandra on her birthday,
did
too.
You? Okay.
Yeah, I was like, happy birthday, dork.
Yeah, dork. So that was for the delay, guys. Again, apologies, and thanks for your patience. So if you guys are watching us on YouTube, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell. If you guys are interested in following us on any of our social media, our Linktree link is in the description of the YouTube video. And if you guys are listening to the audio-only version of this podcast, you can find it on your podcast platform of choice. We're on all the good ones and on all the hits. Look at that little beautiful smile you got there. So guys, normally we do our what are you up to, where Andrew and I take a second to talk about what we've been playing, what we've been watching. However, since Andrew and I just recently beat the same game, we're just going to kind of talk about that and give it coverage. And that game is Diablo 4, which
indie game you might have heard of.
Just a small little game that came out on June 5th of 2023. It was announced at BlizzCon as far back as 2019. Early access was as early as June 1st if you bought the deluxe edition, and then the beta started as far back as March. So we just beat it. I did want to give a shout out because it was a game that I think we all played with a couple of different people. So big shout out to Geno, to Brian, Che. I know you were playing with Collins and CN, and then we had another buddy, Venom, that was popping on there. And then my biggest shout out is to Daniel, who I think I played the most with of that game. Who did you play the most with?
Probably Geno. I think me and Geno really played with Geno and that random Venom dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we Geno has this friend on there that was like 10 levels higher than us, and dude, he was just running us through bosses. So it was a lot of fun. So let me start. I will just start saying, how did you like the experience? I know you're not the biggest Diablo guy. I don't think I know we've talked about it before, but my memory gets hazy. Did you ever play 1 and 2, or did you just do 3 and now 4 with us?
I just did 3, and Geno ran me through that, and I kind of barely remember it. But overall, I had a really good experience. It was really fun to play with. I didn't have any issues like anybody else did getting into the game or anything. So we got the deluxe digital whatever edition, so I was able to play it early. So me and Gene Bean got in, and we're just kind of messing around for like a bit, trying to figure things out. And I really liked it a lot. Again, I'm not the kind of guy though that, as far as other games go, there are some that I will go the extra mile and I'll put hundreds and Warzone I'm addicted to. This is a game for me. I'm just going to do the story and maybe DLC if they had like achievements or stuff for it. But other than that, I'm done.
Yeah, it was a good game, and I would say it definitely picks up in the later acts than it did in the beginning. The first ones I feel
for sure
were kind of a little slowish. I wish the horse was acquired sooner than it was. I know a lot of people, like I, had issues that so Andrew and I game share, and if you bought the digital edition, it gives you the early access, but it only gave access to the primary account that bought it, and this time around, Andrew was the one that ended up purchasing it. So I know that was a lot of big confusement for people. There was a couple of like hacks and tricks that you could do. I mean, with all being said, it wasn't that big of a deal. It just kind of is unfortunate when you think you're going to be able to play it for 5 extra days and don't. But I got to say, so I don't know if we've said this before. I played the Druid. Geno was playing the Necromancer. You played the Rogue?
Yeah, I went with the Rogue.
So how'd you like that character and the abilities and all that?
Actually, I really liked it. This character, I don't think, was in the beta. I forgot in the beta I was like the sorcerer or whatever.
Yeah.
So I actually really like this, because this is the kind of person that you can be far away doing damage, but then you can get up close, and it's like built to get in, do your abilities, show your strong stuff, and then kind of get out was the way mine was built. And so I'm constantly doing damage. Like, it felt really good to use. It was actually my favorite. I liked it a lot more than the sorcerer.
Nah, yeah, because in the original, in the beta, I remember playing the barbarian, which I loved, because the druid wasn't available then. But I like to follow. Geno sends me these guides. They're from Icy Vein, if any of you guys are familiar with that, and it tells you kind of how to level up your guy from 1 to 35, and then once you pass that, 1 to the end game, and then there's a whole build for the end game. Because originally I was playing a version that was kind of going back between the bear and the werewolf form, but then when I started following the guide, I started doing the storm druid, which I just had a ton of fun in. But I do want to say, was there any changes in this game you think you would do? Because I know one of the complaints I was seeing is that a lot of people were going, I wish you just would have started with a class that's never been seen before, or like, why is it always the same guys and then the good stuff comes later? I'm wondering if maybe it would have been a more fan joyous if they would have started off with like a Blood Knight or something like that instead of just the same barbarian, the same druid, the same rogue.
For me, it's different. Because, again, I haven't played these, so for me, it was fine. I didn't really have a problem, because it's not like I've been in any of these people, and I don't really remember the other one. I could see that as a valid concern. I think my biggest gripe, again, I had a great time, and the only thing I'd really change is, like, going through all that trouble and doing the campaign, I think gets you, like, 15 points. If you're a gamer score kind of person, which we are, then I'm like, man, why is there not one for doing chapter 1, 2, 3, 5, just do basic stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's the only kind of thing that I'm just like, that's dumb.
Yeah, beat this monster in X dungeon. And I do plan on playing more of it. I know that because there is enough of us that I think we can do a lot of the end game run. I know Chet, I know Collins and them are still, and Geno clearly are still working on that. So it is something I think I still will put time in. But like you, once I beat the game, I'm kind of done because I'm going, the next thing around the corner for me is Final Fantasy 16. So it's like I can't be splitting up that kind of time. But I don't know. I thought the storyline was really good. Like I said, I think it gets very interesting in the later half of the game. The first half, I think, is kind of sluggish. But, are you definitely in line to play Diablo 5 if and whenever that comes out?
Yeah, for sure. I had a really good time with this, and I really enjoyed Lilith as villain. I thought she was super dope.
Yeah, Lilith was actually a very cool character.
Especially some of those, like, later cutscenes between, like, her and Inarius and stuff like that were, like, so badass.
So I did want to just point this out before we move into our main topic, and this is just kind of these things of note that Diablo hit some really big sales, and this comes to us from this is from the Activision site, and it says Diablo 4 crosses 600. You like how they do 666 million sell through within 5 days of launch, setting a new Blizzard all-time record. And then it goes on to show these kind of stats of what's happened since people have been playing. And it's 276 billion demons killed since early access, nearly 35 times the global population. Players have been vanquished over 316 million times. Over 5 million of those vanquishings were at the hands of the Butcher. I know I got my ass beat twice by him.
Didn't run into him once.
But they're not falling alone. Players have created a party with friends of over 166 million times. 163 players have made it to the maximum level in hardcore mode, where the deaths are permanent. So you got to be impressed by that, because generally speaking, a big AAA game, roughly can get a budget of around 100 million, maybe a little more higher than that. So 666 million in 5 days and it's their all-time record. Instantly makes its money back. It's instantly in the go. They, their feet are up and running. So, congratulations to them. I can't say that I'm surprised. I just wasn't sure maybe in my head what number I thought they were going to make, especially within 5 days. But, I mean, nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, I know. This game for sure was going to be a juggernaut. And I think it's going to be in, like, a lot of people's Game of the Year contenders.
Yeah, I can see that. So, is there anything else you want to say about Diablo before we move on?
No, I had a good time. If it's something you're on the fence on, definitely get in there, especially if you can with some friends. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun, and hopefully I can get to that 100-point Lilith achievement. But you were saying you watched somebody get their ass beat in, like, one hit, so...
Well, yeah, it was like 2 seconds. I'm like, oh, well, that's...
and the other thing I wanted to point out is, if you guys weren't familiar with it, there was that loot cave that you can do. It was kind of like Destiny back in the day, where there was a certain spot in the game that you can run, and it'll drop a high volume of legendary items. And I think I sent it to somebody in the group, and I was like, I think they're patching that up already. I'm like, that sucks. Like, that thing was like just figured out. I think it was running around for like less than a week, and they're already fucking boxing that up. So if you didn't get to it, try to do it before it's gone. So with that being said, guys, let's move into our main topic, which is this whole week was just full of games and new trailers and different showcases. Of course, this is coming off the heels of the PlayStation showcase that for a lot of people it was a hit or miss. I think generally you and I both liked it. So
it was okay.
Yeah, moving into this one, there was a bunch of different things. Now, what Andrew and I aren't going to do is, because each of these showcases we could do an episode about. We could spend, because each of these things were about an hour and a half and up. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on each individual showcase. The one we will focus on for the main portion of the show is going to be the Xbox showcase, and we'll highlight a couple of the games that we liked. And then at the end, we'll talk about Starfield and a couple other trailers that caught our eye. But before we jump into that, Andrew, I just want to say overall, how did you like the showcases spread out over the whole week? Is this kind of the new way we're looking at it? I know you were saying you didn't care for like the Ubisoft and Capcom ones compared to like the Xbox one, but I mean overall a solid week of good games and good trailers.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. It definitely shows, especially after this, we don't need E3. What do you need E3 for? Everyone else did whatever on their own, and it was perfectly fine. So I thought it was really good. The Ubisoft one, I didn't really care for. They had obviously the two big games that, Assassin's Creed, and we'll talk about the other one later. And then the Capcom one, I just don't feel like really had that like big moment. But I think that's also because maybe they don't want to take attention away from Resident Evil 4, because Resident Evil 4 did just launch, so they're kind of, trying to do whatever they can for the tail of that. I was actually really surprised, because I thought this would be the time they would announce maybe like for free, because what didn't launch with Resident Evil 4 that's on the original one is the Separate Ways, where you play as Ada and kind of what she's doing a little bit while Leon's also traversing the island. So I thought for sure that was going to be an announcement here coming for like free as an update. This would have been the perfect time for that. Or maybe just a teaser into even just a little blurb saying we're working on Code Veronica next or something like that. Other than that, it was all stuff we've known about, a couple delays on things, but I don't think either of the other two, at least Capcom, I think kept theirs kind of short. I don't remember it being very long.
Do you think PlayStation should have been somewhere in that week, or was it a smart idea that they were a week before, or do you think it would have? I was almost thinking that it should have just been, because it was almost every day there was something going on. I think there was 2 days it wasn't. I think it would have fit. Again, I don't think it's a big difference, but I mean, if everyone's watching these things back to back to back, I don't want to say more or less eyes would have been on it, but I just think it would have fit better in that pocket versus a whole week on a standalone.
I think it worked out better for them, because a lot of people, we didn't get a chance to talk about this, were unhappy with it because it didn't have a lot of first-party titles. A lot of the stuff was third-party and not like a whole lot of release dates. So a lot of people were giving it like 5s, 4s, saying it's like the worst PlayStation event, that it was almost more like a state of play, like a state of play versus a PlayStation event. So I think it worked more to the benefit that maybe, okay, we put this out there and people were a little disappointed with it, then everyone is positive on Xbox, or a lot of people are giving it 10s on the Xbox from what I could see, counting the Starfield Direct as one. And then if PlayStation came after that, I think that would have been a lot worse than them, because that would have been like,
right.
Man, especially coming
one's
out,
all exclusives, the other one's all mostly third party.
Coming after how good that one was, and this is what you're putting out, whatever, versus, I don't want to take out the bad news out of the way, because I thought the event was fine, so.
Yeah, and I did want to point out, we have our friends over at the Brothers Take, and they do a whole recap of the whole week's event too. So if you guys are looking for maybe more in-depth stuff with particular showcases, definitely go and check them out. And the reason I bring it up, because they were saying something, I think it was in the first, in Jeff Keighley's original thing on Monday, that how the Spider-Man finally got a release date. It's on October 20th, and that was one of the big things. People were like, well, why didn't you show that at Sony Showcase? Right. Why were you saving this for a Jeff Keighley announcement, which was fine. Hey, it's day after my birthday if anyone wants to grab me anything. But one of the things that I liked, that I think Chris was the one saying it, was when he's talking to one of the developers, I forget who it was, they were saying how Venom's not going to be Eddie Brock, he's not going to be Matt Gargan, and they're like kind of speculating of what it could be. And I believe Chris was saying, what if it ends up being Kraven? And he ends up getting the symbiote, and that's why he's, because he can't beat Spider-Man. So I don't know, that was an interesting thought. I didn't really think about that, but any thoughts on who Venom might be?
I wonder if they're maybe just going to do like an all-new character or something like that. I mean, Venom could really take over anybody. It doesn't have to be. Eddie Brock is a little more, I'd say, generic than Spider-Man.
I mean, but thoughts on Kraven being...
for that? I don't know if...
Far-fetched theory?
He could, if we're talking, could that happen? I could see that being like pretty possible, but I also kind of don't really like the idea of that, because he's kind of already doing his like own thing. I don't know who I'd really see it go to if it had to go to like a villain or someone we already know or something like that. Give me a second to think, and maybe I'll
take your time. I was watching them earlier, and I was like, oh, that's a really interesting idea. I didn't think about that. So, with that being said, guys, let's move into the Xbox Showcase, and I want to start with this, and this comes from the Xbox.com website. It's saying, during the Xbox Showcase, we shared 27 games, 21 of which will be available for Xbox Game Pass and or PC Game Pass. After that, the Starfield Direct shot for the stars to offer you unprecedented access to Bethesda Game Studios' first new universe in over 25 years. I'm going to keep going. I'll do the whole thing. Starting at the end, we showed off the biggest chunk of Starfield gameplay yet seen as part of their Starfield Direct. Ahead of its September 6th launch, Bethesda Game Studios' Starfield game director Todd Howard and his team provided a deep dive on character customization, exploration, ships, and much more. And later on, we'll get into more of that. From our own Xbox studios, we revealed new projects built for Xbox, from Compulsion and in Exile in the form of South of Midnight and Clockwork Revolution, provided exciting updates on the likes of Fable and the future of the Microsoft Flight Simulator franchise. Again, Andrew and I are talking off screen. Not a game I normally would play, but awesome what they showed of
that was actually really cool. And I know that it's not for me, especially too when it was doing all the flying stuff, and it's like, and plus a hot air balloon director, and I'm like, wow.
that was funny. It goes on to say, We even unearthed a treasure no one could have seen coming with Sea of Thieves, The Legend of Monkey Island. That one really caught my eye.
Oh, man. Since we're not going to talk about it, that one got me good. Because as soon as I was watching it, Christina's sitting there, and it's like, Rare. I'm like, all right, cool. Something new from Rare. And then it's like, in Lucasfilm, I'm like, oh, man, Rare's going to do something Star Wars related. I'm so excited. Something new. And then it's like Sea of Thieves. I'm like, God damn it.
And then they stole it from you.
Oh, man, they got me good.
But it was a really cool idea that they were blending those two together. I love when things like that.
Oh, they're perfect fit.
Yeah, it was very. I was telling Andrew because I don't know if she knows Sea of Thieves, but she does know Monkey Island. And she's like, is that Monkey Island? I was like, yes, ma'am. It goes on to say, and from our partners around the world, we showed off a breadth of games coming to Xbox platforms. We had showstoppers like Star Wars Outlaws, which we'll get into, Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, which we'll talk about as well, and Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, unique and ambitious games from independent developers in the shape of Dungeons of Hinterberg and 33 Immortals, and continued our amazing relationship with RPG masters Atlas, and they brought Metaphor, Rifantasio, Persona 3 Reload, and Persona 5 Tactica. Everything in today's show will be playable on PC and on the world's most powerful and affordable consoles, Xbox Series X and S. Speaking of those consoles, we've heard your feedback on two fronts. We've been able to increase our supply on Xbox Series X globally, and we know you've wanted more storage with the Xbox Series S, so we have some news for you there. With the announcement of a Black Series S with 1 terabyte of storage. So that's kind of where I wanted to start it. Not too much, I don't want to dive too far into it, but the fact that they were able to show off a new console, the price point that they showed was $349. Doing a beefy 1 terabyte of SSD in a Series S model. Does that price make sense to you? Aren't Series S is $150? So to jump up
$250.
Oh,
they're $299.
Okay, so I mean, not a bad price jump then. I guess from $299 to $350.
I know they're on sale right now for $250, so that does make a greater disparity. I saw some people kind of crapping on it online, saying it's too close to like the PS5 like base price and stuff for like a little bit more or whatever. But then you see a lot of people doing like Destin Legary from IGN went and did like one of those for the Starfield Direct, saying here's what's in the Series S console for this value versus here's how much you'll have to spend for the lowest specs in order to play Destiny, and the lowest cost console or PC that you could build just to run it at like bare minimum was like over $800.
Oh.
And I'm like, dude, that's massive bang for your buck, especially when you have something like that to put it in perspective.
Yeah, that's actually good context. I like that a lot. So, new console, if any of you guys were on the fence or waiting, I don't know if I caught the release date for it. Was it already out? Do you remember that at all?
You know, I don't remember seeing a release date for it, so
if it's not out by the end of this year, I'm assuming it'll be probably in the 2024. So, with that done out of the way, guys, I kind of wanted to start off with their opening game, and this comes to us from IGN. It says, Xbox kicked off the show with our first proper look at Playground Games' upcoming Fable reboot. The IT crowd's Richard Ayoda played a starring role in the trailer as narrator, maintaining the cheeky humor the series is known for. We don't know when the game is coming out, but Xbox did confirm that it's coming to Game Pass on day one. So before we get into kind of the backlash, my general first thoughts were, you cannot tell me, because I don't mind if there's cinematic trailers. Generally speaking, if a game's coming out, you go cinematic, and then you do some gameplay, and then you get closer and closer to the release. Dude, we've been waiting for Fable for years now, and you're telling me that's the most you could show me was this? Now, with that being said, a lot of people were kind of giving it this backlash that the character, female protagonist that they were showing was kind of this, did you read any of that? Was kind of this beat up looking girl, and people were kind of upset about it. And I wasn't so much upset about that, because if you're not understanding the joke of what Fable is, then you're missing the point. You know, that's Fable property, you're missing it altogether. The whole point is like this kind of medieval English broken accents and beat up looking people with, you know, yuck teeth. But my point is,
chicken chaser, you're just gonna sit there and chase chickens all day.
Yeah, my point was more, okay, is she a non-customizable protagonist? Because the other Fable games, that was kind of the cool concept. You build a character, you choose either if you want to go, you know, Paragon or Renegade, and it's your journey. So my kind of biggest problem is, am I now playing a very particular character? Not that she beat the shit out of, because to me, that was the most funny part.
People compared her to the bartender from Shrek, the ugly stepsister that's like that guy.
That's hilarious. So I don't know, what did you take away from this? Was it just enough to get us going? Do you think there should have been something more to the gameplay and the mechanics? And then overall, how'd you like the way, I guess, she looked?
You know what? Honestly, it didn't kind of bug me. I guess maybe I wasn't really paying attention to that because I'm not a big Fable fan. I really didn't play like one or how many is there? Two?
There's three. One, two, and three.
I didn't play
at least in the main courses.
I think I played like a little bit of one, but I don't think I was really into games like that at that time. That just watching this, I was like, oh man, you know what? I think I'm totally on board with this, and I kind of get what it is, and I like it. I think it is important to note. One, I do think they should, especially with how long it's been. Even just 2 seconds of gameplay shows something. That would have been fine. But they did say at the start, or I don't know if it was at the start or they tweeted beforehand, that everything they showed wasn't just like CGI trailers or anything like that. That everything was all like in-engine as how it should look, like if you're watching a cutscene or like that. So it's not just high-res trailer, and then when it cuts to the game, it looks like crap. So
yeah.
I mean, if that's how it's going to look, then I either way, I'm on board. I like the idea of it, but I do think that they should have showed something to go along with it. Even just 10 seconds of someone running around or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to... I don't think they would stray too far from... I get that they're reinventing the world, but I don't think they would be like, well, now it's just this one person in this funny world. I think you're going to be able to create your own person.
Yeah, I would hope so, because in my mind, that is what Fable is. It was never following the hero's journey. But again, though, this is a reboot, not a continuation. You know what I mean? This isn't Fable 4.
Right.
This is Fable Reboot. So if they want to go in that new direction, I completely get it. I would just hope not, because my whole concept is when you're playing these kind of fantasy RPGs, I like building a character. But I'm sure they know what they're doing, and I was mad. I'm like, just show me more, please. We've been waiting for this thing for over a decade, and I'm seeing this long cinematic trailer of this giant in an interview while this chick's running around. So
it was funny though.
It was definitely funny, and again, that's at least the humor's still there, right? It's still in Fable. It's still Fable in the main vein. So I did appreciate that. So I wanted to jump to what was the game that caught your eye?
So my first one, and you're gonna notice I think we went a little different routes on these for what each person favored.
You went far east, my man.
Yeah, mine was Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, and that was Capcom's game. It's an action game with Japanese aesthetics. It is running on the RE engine, so it was actually a beautiful looking game, and it's really like weird. You have this guy running around wearing this like weird outfit. And you're like, I don't know if you're fighting like demons or ghosts or what they're supposed to be. It almost kind of reminded me a little bit of Ghostwire Tokyo, because he's like trying to shut like the gates like to the afterlife.
I got those vibes.
So I thought that was like really cool. So it seems almost like it's like a medieval, maybe blending of like feudal Japan and maybe whatever their version of the afterlife is kind of clashing with Earth at that time or something. I don't know, because then there's like a princess involved. Either way, it looked really cool, and it looked... I would say a little bit, I don't want to say as stylish as like Devil May Cry, but maybe like a lot more action heavy is something like that.
So more combat like that than versus like a Dark Souls type game?
Yeah, it definitely didn't look like a Dark Souls or obviously not like a Resident Evil. It seemed like very fast-paced action, like I said. Like,
but everything I saw, it was very colorful, because when you wrote me that earlier,
very vibrant.
I was like, wait, I'm like, what game is he talking about? Because I don't remember the name being called the Path of Goddess or whatever. And then I rewatched it again, I'm like, oh yeah, this game looked badass. I think Deandra walked in right when that thing's like stomach split open.
Yeah.
And they're walking in. I'm like, yeah, this thing's definitely gonna dive into like that fantasy, like paranormal kind of demon kind of stuff. And everything I saw, I'm like, yeah, sign me up. And yeah, very bright. Those pinks and all the flowers and all that stuff look very, very vibrant. So yeah, definitely looking. Did it have a release date at all?
That one didn't even have like a release window. But I think I'm fine. And that's the thing with some of these, is a lot of these games did at least have a release window or a date, that I'm fine with showing me something that's further down the pipeline too. You know, I'm okay with giving a light 2024 or maybe even beyond, because I need to see what the future is too, not just I felt like that was the problem last time, was here's the immediate 12 months, but we're going to keep pushing everything back and back and back.
Yeah. So excellent first choice. The one I think me and you both we agreed upon was Star Wars Outlaws. Now,
yes.
On the Xbox showcase, it was probably about a minute and a half cinematic type trailer, but then there was a full like 10-minute gameplay trailer or gameplay demo in the Ubisoft event. So I just wanted to point this out to any of you guys that missed it, just what it was about. And it says, experience the first ever open world Star Wars game set between the events of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Explore distinct planets across the galaxy, both iconic and new. Risk it all as Kay Vess, an emerging scoundrel seeking freedom and the means to start a new life, along with her companion Nyx. Fight, steal, and outwit your way through the galaxy's crime syndicates as you join the galaxy's most wanted. So, first off, I love the fact that you're not a Jedi, you're not a soldier. They're finally telling it from like the rogue's point of view, like the Han Solo type character. I hate the moment I'm like, but it's between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So again, one more Star Wars game that's kind of pigeonholed into this Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker universe. Because all that tells me is that we're going to see Jabba the Hutt. We're going to see Darth Vader. There's going to be mentions of the Skywalkers or something like that. Not necessarily a bad thing. Because look at the last Star Wars game we just got with Jedi Survivor. It works. I'm just tired of this 20-year, these 2 decades of time.
I don't want to see Vader or any Jedi or anything like that in here. I don't mind Stormtroopers because those are fine. I actually wouldn't even mind seeing the Hutts. I did write that down in here too. That
what about Pizza the Hut?
Yeah, that they thought that this would be the better time because I think it's like after the Death Star blows up, the Rebels are kind of falling back a little bit to kind of try to regroup and reattack, and the Alliance, or not the Alliance,
the Rebels?
Not Rebels. I can't think right now.
The Empire?
Empire, thank you.
Oh.
I could not remember the word Empire to save my life. The Empire's kind of trying to rebuild their stuff after this big loss, or not so much a loss, but like a big stumble for them, that really emphasizes now the crime syndicates are trying to grab all the power because they're kind of taking a step back while they're regrouping themselves. And now instead of we're going to fight the rebels and fight the Empire, we're going to fight the rebels and we're going to fight the syndicates, they kind of make these deals with the syndicates. Like you could do, they even show it like in the trailer, there's a Empire officer there who like goes to take the money and like tries to get a bribe, and if you bribe her, they'll like leave you alone versus you just take it yourself and say, fuck off, I'll find my own way. So the way it was explained like that, as long as it is like that, I'm perfectly okay with it.
Okay, but why can't that be in any other part of the galaxy's history? Why can't you tell the same story but not make it between Empire and that? I mean, there's been other empires.
That is the thing, but I'm just like, you know what? The way you explained it, I'm fine. I'll take it off to see what it is, and we'll go from there. But yes, I get, we preach this all the time. Like, give us something somewhere else, please.
Something dark side.
But it did look really good, especially when you saw the Ubisoft gameplay.
Yeah, because I did like seeing the fact that she was like running a I don't want to call it a motorcycle, but she was running like a Land Cruiser. She was doing a couple different things. My biggest issue, there's a name for it. I'm skipping on it. The biggest thing that I'm curious about is, okay, open world, sure. Go do planets and discover new things on these planets. Okay, so we're talking like Mass Effect meets kind of maybe like a Dishonored or something. But it's like, isn't Starfield doing that? So one of you is going to do it better than the other one, and now the other one's going to be compared to that. Because isn't that the same context? Open world, go explore worlds, go travel to these different planets. So now it's like,
plus space combat,
and I don't know which one's going to come out better. One's obviously much more deep and intricate, which is going to be the Starfield, but Star Wars is Star Wars, so I don't know. But did that cross your mind at all that they're talking about kind of the same thing?
I didn't even think about it, but they're spread enough so far apart because Starfield's this year, and this doesn't come out until like next year, right?
I don't know why I said Dishonored. I meant Skyrim meets kind of Mass Effect is what I meant, but yeah, I think this one. Oh, you were saying too that a lot of people were saying it looked rough. But the concept was it didn't come out till next year, right?
Yeah, so it's got plenty of time. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, it looks good. I like to, that it seems like there's options that maybe might not affect, like, the whole role. But sort of, like I was saying, when she doesn't bribe the officer and she goes to leave, like, the club or whatever they're in, it says wanted because she calls in the Imperial. So you're trying to get out of the town, and they're landing as she's taking off. So you kind of dodge them, but now you're having to fight them in the sky because she had called in that order. I'm like, no, this actually seems pretty cool. It's almost like I don't want to say Star Wars like GTA.
Oh, I do like that idea though.
But that's kind of almost what it reminded me of a little bit without having that free roam of like, I'm just going around killing everyone and doing whatever I want.
Yeah, because I know this game was announced back in 2021, so if it's coming out 2024, that seems enough time to get its feet off the ground and get going. I do got to push back though. A lot of people are saying it looked rough. I'm not saying it looked perfect. But I do think I saw enough of it where I'm like, dude, I'd play it now.
It didn't look like Golem.
It didn't look like Golem.
And I'll say, I actually, sorry, I didn't mean to. I was going to say, I'm actually excited too because this is one of the big first things we're getting that's not from EA.
Yeah, and it's going to be next gen. It's going to be PS5 and Xbox Series X, so it will be a full next gen console game. So I am excited about that. Yeah, and we are in that world now. Now that EA's thing of that 10-year hold that it had is done, that now multiple studios can start getting their hands on Star Wars. Let's see what they get to do on this one. So I'm looking forward to that. So what was your next game, Andrew?
My next one is actually going to be from Atlas. Now, they had shown off like a little bit, and I actually think it's really good to show that Microsoft's working with these studios. They already, Japanese studios, they've already had other Persona games coming. They had like a Persona 5 Tactics that they've announced. The Persona 3, I think it's like a remake. It's called Reloaded. Those are both coming to Game Pass day one. But they actually were able to show off what their new game is going to be from Atlas, and that's called Metaphor ReFantasio. And it's like a fantasy drama. It almost looks like an anime version of Final Fantasy. And I thought it looked really good. I'm not really into Persona because it just... I haven't played it, but it's just kind of like based around like a school and you're going to school and classes and stuff. Whereas this is almost like the same artwork. It looks exactly the same, but now you just have like dragons and all kinds of weird monsters and all kinds of things going on in kingdoms like fighting and stuff. And I'm like, man, this looks a lot cooler, and this is what I'm wanting to play.
Yeah, I was watching it, and there was a block there, but they were doing a bunch of Japanese games like back to back to back. Was that the one that was all in Japanese? Like it wasn't even an English trailer, was it?
No, it wasn't an English trailer.
It was like all Japanese. I was like, damn, this game's hard.
I don't remember if this was in that block. I think it was a little bit later because I think this was almost like the second to last announcement, maybe.
Yeah, I remember catching it. I'd have to watch you play. I'd have to you tell me if it's good because that game looked like a little too much for me. But I mean, aesthetically though, it looked cool. I like what I saw. It's just gameplay wise, I'm not sure if that'd be the first one I would jump into. But I like that you like it.
Hey, I'm gonna go for it.
Nice. The next game I wanted to talk about was Clockwork Revolution, releases in 2024 from Studio In Exile. GameRant said, In Exile's new first-person shooter RPG hybrid, Clockwork Revolution has a rich pedigree of RPG mechanics to borrow from its developers' previous work. Now, this thing had huge BioShock vibes for me. I was looking at this thing, I'm like, I almost thought it was like the next BioShock Infinite or something like that. So, you thought so too or no?
No, I was going to say, well, I was thinking that, but Christina watched this with me, and of course she's never played any of those. She's like, is this from the people who make Atomic Heart?
Oh, no, that's exactly what I wrote down. I'm like, I think this is what Atomic Heart wanted to be, because you could tell that style is inspired clearly by BioShock and BioShock from System Shock, but it's like, this is the game Atomic Heart wanted to be, and clearly dropped the ball.
Yeah, because I don't remember if she finished it, but I'm like, no, it's something like, I was like, it's something like it. I think it's more what it wanted to be, and it's supposed to be better. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better, but I was like, I definitely think you should try it. She looks super interested in it.
Yeah, the thing I love the most too that BioShock does and kind of Atomic Heart did is they do these kind of alt histories, all different things happen in the world. So, Clockwork Revolution, and I'll just kind of give you a quick summary of what it is a time-bending steampunk first-person RPG. I mean, what's your favorite verb or what's your favorite adjective in there? After stumbling across an incredible invention that allows you to travel into the past, you discover the city you call home. The vibrant, steam-powered metropolis of Avalon has been carefully crafted through the alteration of historical events. By traveling back to key moments, your interactions and choices will have a butterfly effect on the deep, narrative-driven world and characters of Avalon, causing them to change and react in unprecedented ways. So one of the things they were kind of showing off in the trailer is she'll go back and there's one statue of this war hero, and the other one, the statue's broken and crumbled, and it was never that person. So for me, that's like right up my alley. That's the kind of stuff I love playing, love seeing, and I'm curious if it is more, even though it's alt history and you can do different things, is it still a linear path that causes this, like, if you and I play it and we do something, is it always going to be the same thing every gameplay, or are there going to be multiple moments that were like, oh, you did it this way, I did it this way, which means I never get B and you never got C or something like that. So I'm super curious on what more they're going to show this in the future, but right off the bat, everything I saw was like, sign me up, because I am.
Yeah, that one did look really good.
Nice, so that's what I have on that, and then you have one more, right?
Yeah, so my final one, they didn't show really much. It's Like a Dragon 8. It's a sideways 8 for Infinite. Mm-hmm. Infinite Wealth is what they're calling the new...
real quick. So I was looking up, because I forgot the name of it, and I remember I was asking you. I was looking up Infinite, and it kept popping up, and it didn't show me a thumbnail. I kept thinking it wasn't giving me the game. I thought it was like a code to get infinite money. So I kept going, I'm like, no, what's the game? And you're like, Infinite Wealth. I'm like, oh, that's the name of the game.
Yeah, so it finally has a name, and that's just what it is in America. and Japan, it's just called Like a Dragon 8. And again, that's from RGG Studio. It didn't really show too much. It showed Ichiban, who is the star of the first Like a Dragon for America, the last Yakuza, and he's almost, I don't know if he's in like Hawaii or something like that. He's somewhere that's clearly American, which you've never really been to anything like that in Japan. So either way, it was just, again, a cool thing for them to show off, something with Sega, because I feel like Yakuza was always big, But I feel like Yakuza's bigger now than ever since Microsoft did that partnership, put all their games pretty much on the Game Pass. You can go play them front to back on there, and now this game is pretty much on the front and in everyone's mind. Like, you can tell anyone knows what Yakuza is now.
Yeah, I saw it. I know you're heavy into those games, so for me, I was like, you got a good week because they showed off that one. And then they showed off the other one, I think on the PlayStation one, I think.
The Man with No Name.
So yeah, you had 2 big games. And those are what, like 40-hour games?
If you're doing everything on them, they could even get upwards into like 100 hours. But usually when you're doing the story for the fighting ones, like the Man with No Name, that one's a fighting one, a brawler. That one will probably be like 20 hours for the main story. Whereas this one, it's like a standard RPG. I think the last one took me like 40 hours to do. But again, that's because it plays like a classic Final Fantasy where you have people do these roles and stuff. But it's just a lot funnier with the way they do it, because your guy kind of thinks he's in a game, but it's also modern. So the way you like stun someone, or you can get stunned to where you're blind, is like there's a dude wearing like a trench coat and he'll flash you and he's naked. You don't see anything because it's like blurred out or whatever, but your guy's like that, and then that's why your person's like stunned instead. So it's really funny, and you have to play it. Or like usually in games there's like oil slick or something. Yeah. There's some like weird dude who's like sunbathing and he's covered in sunscreen, and so when he hits you, that's how you get like oil slick to where like your attacks miss. It's just so funny, and I definitely highly recommend getting out there and try them. I'm pretty sure Like a Dragon, which is Yakuza 7, is on the Game Pass, so if you want to, you can definitely just jump in and start with that, because that's the start of Ichiban, which is our new protagonist. That's the start of his story going forward. You can definitely play it, and you'll maybe miss a few moments of older stuff that like maybe won't hit for you as hard, but you're not gonna be lost. You can just pick it up right there and go. Nice.
So that's kind of where I think we're gonna end it as far as talking about the Xbox showcase. We'll talk about Starfield here in a second, but I did want to point out this thing had a lot of things. I think it was saying over 20-something games. 21 are gonna be on Game Pass. This thing was clearly showing that this thing is gonna be loaded for the Game Pass. The only, I would say, maybe kind of hiccup was that a lot of the games were coming 2024. So, but that was kind of the idea, right? We're halfway through the year. They're going, hey guys, this is all going to be coming up, and the Game Pass is going to be loaded up. So, yeah.
I do want to point something out to you, because we actually didn't see any of these also. We have Starfield this year, and then maybe Avowed next year. So after that, how many for the next 4, 5, 6 years? They should have at least one major RPG coming out every year, because then after that, you could have Fable, Outer Worlds 2, Skyrim,
especially with all the
Skyrim, Elder Scrolls, then whatever the next Fallout is. So every year for the next 4 to 5 years, you're gonna have a major RPG coming out of Microsoft. And I'm like, damn, that's pretty hype.
Yeah, and these are some big Western RPGs too, which is right up my alley as well. So let's move into the back half, which was a standing alone at 45-minute direct, which was Starfield. As far as I know, they're sticking with the day, September 6th of 2023, developed by Bethesda, announced originally at E3 in 2018. Now, I almost wasn't going to watch it, even though I knew we were going to have to talk about it, because I already saw what I had to see. I'm already in. I know you didn't like what you saw originally. You were kind of off the fence, but this thing completely changed your mind. So let's just start there, and what about it that completely, you were off the fence, now you're 100% on?
Before it just made it seem like everything was so empty and like what you're doing is slow. But after seeing how the combat works, and it seemed like it was a lot better, a lot faster. Plus there's all kinds of different options for how you want to play it through here, especially as far as like silenced weapons if you're trying to skulk around. I think more for me too was just seeing the towns, because that's always been the big thing for me with Fallout and Elder Scrolls, isn't just exploring these random caves and this like world and whatever else may be out there. It's all the individual towns and the kind of people that you meet.
NPCs, yeah.
And so that's really kind of what a lot of this focused on. And so that's when I was like, okay, cool, like I'm in now.
Yeah, because it showed a bunch of different things. It went over, and I'll put this in there. Again, it'd be a long thing if we try to break down it all, but it was showing off your quest. It dove into the character creation, the skills, the shipbuilding, all the new companions, the space flight, and then
space fighting.
The space flight and fighting. They showed off the new controller and headset. They showed off that kind of baller-looking watch.
Dude, I was about to say, that watch was so sick.
Yeah, that watch was pretty sick. They went go over the exploration, the outposts, and the combat. So my biggest thing that I was watching, and I'm not so much confused that, it's just, okay, well, what is this game? Is this game a foot-on-the-ground RPG Explorer? Or half of this thing was showing out flying mechanics. So is this a flying game? The other half is, okay, now is this a building sim or half of this thing you're building this game? I just don't want them, I know this game's been in the development, right, 25 years in the making. It's going to be the next big thing. I just hope some of it's not lost because it seems like all of them unto themselves could be its own game. The RPG could be the game. The flying could be a game. Building ships for something could be its own thing. And I'm just curious if any of that's going to get lost in the chlorfluffle. Or are there going to be certain aspects that just maybe look like it's
frequently mentioned on the web include.
You know what? That's never happened the whole time we've done it.
Video game.
Hey Google.
And others.
Stop.
It scared me.
So you get what I'm saying? How I just think there's a lot in it, and is this going to be a game that you can beat as fast as Fallout 4, or is this going to be a thing? Because clearly it's going to be much bigger than Skyrim, but Skyrim still has a finite map. Where this thing is just going to be, is it going to be 9 Skyrims? I don't know. I'm just. After seeing how much is in it, I was just kind of like, man, this game is not going to be something you beat in a week.
I hope that this game is something that's like, you can do the campaign, you can do side quests, you can make it as short as you want it to be, or it could be one of those games that you make it as long as you want it to be.
Like how
it's for both
how
people.
integral is the spaceflight? Like, am I going to need to be doing that to go salvaging ships? Do I have to build this? Because it's like
the hyperdrive and stuff.
Like, you got to add that. You got to have this for having more cargo on your ship. I'm like, okay, well, how integral is it? And if it isn't, then why is it in there? But if it is, then that's a whole other thing I'm going to be spending 20 hours on. Because I'm going to build a badass ship. But if I don't have to, then why is it in there? And I'm kind of curious of where that lands.
No, I kind of feel you on that too, because I mean that's always been the thing for me. Even like take it back to like on PlayStation 2 Kingdom Hearts, where you have to build the gummy ship to get from place to place. I just put the bare minimum one block on there, so I could go through whatever, and I don't fight anything when I'm out in space. I'm like, dude, I just want to get from A to B. I don't really care too much for space fighting. That's not.
Yeah, but this one, it seems like you're gonna need a med bay. You're gonna need something to be growing plants and things like that. You know what I mean? Like this ship's gonna be. It seems your home, or how often are you going to be on it? So I don't know. I just saw a lot, and I'm like, oh, you sat up and ride, partner.
I do want to say that I saw after this, that after the Direct, take this number for as whatever it is, that Xbox sales were up like 1,000%. But, I mean, if they were at an all-time low, or however low they are now, I mean, that's not too much. But either way, that shows people were positive on this. But I think Starfield ended up being like the number one game on Steam that was like under pre-order right now after that Direct. I'm like, good.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is we saw, because I saw Geno, he's like, oh yeah, Starfield, I'm on board. I'm like, yeah, but didn't you see any of the other stuff that they put out? So he wasn't even aware that there was one, because they've showed the thing in the past that showed the skills and showed the character customization, maybe not as deep, but I thought, I'm like, okay, we've already seen that part. I want to see more of the other stuff. How'd you like any of the other, is there anything else that you want to talk about that? Because I thought the companions was a cool concept. But again, though, diving into the space flight, the ships, and then the quest, I'm like, man, those are all 3 different things to me. But overall, looks good. Was there anything else you wanted to point out? Are we missing anything?
I don't think so. I think it's something that it would be too much for us to even go into. Like, you really just kind of have to go and watch it. If it's something you're interested or on the fence about, it's either going to turn you off or it's going to turn you on for it.
Yeah, so I'm curious what you guys think of what you saw with Starfield. So, with that being said, guys, let's move into our one question of the week this week. So guys, if you want to submit questions Andrew and I can answer on the show, you can do so a couple of ways. You can email us at lastcallproductions@gmail.com. You guys can leave questions in the bottom of the YouTube in the comments section, or you can find me on social media at Craig Perales. And this question comes from Patrick Q, and they write, besides the Xbox showcase, did anything else stand out to you? I didn't love the Ubisoft or Capcom events, but I liked Jeff Keighley's summer event. And yeah, we kind of touched on this. The reason I wanted to make sure we added this question was because we can't have this conversation, right, even though it's kind of more on the Xbox showcase, without showing the big Final Fantasy VII Rebirth thing that they did on Jeff Keighley's summer event, which unfortunately they said is now pushed to 2024, which I think you called.
Oh, I want to say originally that I was like, there's no way you're going to get 2 Final Fantasy games in a year. One's going to come out and the other one's going to be 2024. But they announced them both for one had a hard date. The other said winter 2023. And so on another episode, I was like, you know what? I'm wrong, you guys. You're getting 2 in a year, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But now that it's gotten pushed, I'm like, I'm right back in.
Nice. So, and I'm fine with that. This
for sure. We've already got enough going on.
There's so much coming out this year. We're finally back into the point where good games are coming out. But the Final Fantasy Rebirth trailer, I know, blew everyone's mind, especially when he did that kind of joke. Well, he did something where he's like, oh yeah, in Final Fantasy, and everyone's getting all jazzed up. He's like, no, if you're on DoorDash, and he gave out a code, he still held the goods, and at the end, he showed this trailer. And the crazy thing is this thing is on 2 discs on the PS5, so
which is insane.
So, because what was Final Fantasy VII? 2 discs or 3 discs?
The original?
Yeah, the original one.
3.
So at this point, we have 3.
Or was it 4?
No, it wasn't 4.
3.
Yeah, it was either 2 or 3.
3 then.
So yeah, because Metal Gear was 2. So at this point, now we have 3 discs of an already 3-disc game. So, I mean, what more could they be doing that's taking up that much PS5 to them? Because at this point, is it a remake or is this a new game? Number one, I think, is probably the closest to the remake, and maybe that's why it's called that. Where Rebirth, thus in the title, is like, okay, but now we're going to tell a new story with adding in other characters.
That trailer left me with a lot of questions, and I'm like, man.
It seems like Crisis Core is now going to be a big part of this, where it was kind of originally a spin-off from the original FF7, where now it seems like Crisis Core goes hand in hand with Final Fantasy VII Remake / Rebirth. So I don't know, what did you think about the trailer?
The trailer's really good. Definitely have a lot of questions, especially too after watching it. And again, I don't know anything that happens in the first one, because I'm still holding out hope it comes to Xbox. Normally I Wikipedia everything. I've stayed my hand. I already know the overall Final Fantasy VII story, so I don't know what's new. And this, again, didn't spoil anything for me either, because I'm just seeing the people that would be there normally during this time. That I'm like, man, I don't know what the hell is going on. And when I was looking at people's comments, they're like, I played the last one and I don't even know what's going on. I'm like, good. I know that I'm not lost. But 2 discs, I'm like, man, I can't wait to see what size this is going to be for digital.
I think I'm actually going to replay, because again, I mean, I played it once. I play generally the PS5 games on an easier mode, because I achievement hunt on Xbox, so I like to play casual games on that.
Did you do the DLC?
Yeah, I beat the I forget what it was called, the one with Yuffie in it.
It was like intermediate.
Yeah,
or
they all got
like
weird
that.
fucking names. So yeah, I played that, and it's not that, it's pretty quick, but again, like that comment, after playing it, I'm like, wait, what the fuck just happened? What is this boss? So since it is now coming out at the end of the year, or the beginning of next year, I think I will pick that up again and replay it, just because I don't think I could start that other one without having some kind of recap on that. And pointing out recaps, I've been hating all the Part 2 games that have been coming out that give you these recaps, and they suck. Like, they don't tell you anything. So I doubt Final Fantasy VII is going to be able to explain that to me. So that was definitely... Anything else on the Rebirth trailer?
No.
The other one that I know caught my... and I know yours for sure, was the new Mortal Kombat 1 gameplay trailer that they showed, coming from NetherRealm Studios. I believe August is the release date. It was a nice long trailer showing off all the, the brutalities and the fatalities and the new characters, and really kind of showing off that Liu Kang is now the god of fire, and that this world, because I was kind of curious of who's friends with who now, because it seems a little different. And Ed Boon goes on there and he talks about how that this is a new world. So people that you thought were enemies once upon a time, he points out that like Scorpion and Sub-Zero are now brothers. I don't know if by blood or by clan, but he's like, everything you thought you knew will be flipped on its head. And to me, I'm like, that's how you do a reboot.
Yeah, and this is actually going to be the second reboot, because they rebooted the game when they did Mortal Kombat 9, and they did 1, 2, and 3 with that one. And it was done really, really good. I wish you would get a chance to go and play that when you can, because that was done like amazing. That's still one of my favorite stories. It's so good. But yeah, seeing that, you brought them up. I think it's still going to be clan, because one's yellow and one's still blue, so I think they're just going to maybe be like clan brothers or whatever. But even Katana's like trying to help Melina at one point. And it seems like Shang Tsung maybe is
like she had a disease or something, and she's trying to cure her or something like that.
Yeah, and that was my big thing. Is like, well, how is she turning Tarkatan? Because that's always been the thing. Is she's a clone of Katana that was created in the flesh bits by Shang Tsung, and Liu Kang wouldn't just openly let something like that happen. So it just seems like
an infection that travels through
something that he's trying to create the perfect peaceful world, like what he wants. And somehow there's just still some sort of evil that's just always finding its way. So either way, I'm really excited for it, because that story, I just have no clue where it's going. So I'm just like, man, I'm fully on board. The characters look really, really good.
Yeah.
The gameplay looks good. They have, I forget what they call them now, but it's almost like an assist. So you have your main character and you could be doing something. So if I'm Scorpion, I'm fighting, and then I could bring in Sub-Zero for like a second. He'll do like a special move or a fatality or something, and then it goes back to Scorpion. So I was like, okay, that's something different. They're always trying something different with each game. Again, graphically, looks amazing. I think my one thing that I really hope for, that I don't think they would do, or they haven't said, is that they bring back Kerry Tagawa. Now that's the dude who played Shang Tsung in the original Mortal Kombat movie, and they brought him back for Mortal Kombat 11 to do Shang Tsung, and then the entire DLC is focused on Shang Tsung, the Mortal Kombat Aftermath, and he did such an amazing job. He's so good. Even when they show young Shang Tsung on there, like he voiced him perfectly, that I'm like, man, hopefully they bring him to do the voice back again, because a lot of these characters do look like a little bit different, but if you have him voice it, 100%.
Yeah, and if you pre-order it, I know he's a bonus character, so we gotta make sure we do that.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a bonus, is like an assist character, if he's a bonus, because some people are both. They're playable character and an assist character
picks.
So either way, it looks insane. So either way, it's super hype.
Yeah, and I know they were talking, they had things like Van Damme was going to be, was he in it or was he a voice of somebody? I kind of forgot that part.
I think he was going to voice Johnny Cage, but I don't know if maybe that's just going to be like a setting, because they show...
Johnny Cage, it, but I'm just kind of hazy on it.
They showed Johnny Cage in the trailer, and it didn't sound like Jean-Claude Van Damme, so I don't know.
So,
I think this releases in was October.
August is the month I have down for though, unless that's changed.
Oh, then maybe it's August.
Nice. So, that was a lot, and guys, there was a ton of other stuff. There was the Pragmata trailer. There was the new Avatar trailer. There was the Prince of Persia stuff. There was the Hellblade 2 Cinema Saga. There was a ton of good stuff, but as far as what caught our eye, I want to say, because for you, a lot of those weren't even on your map that you knew were coming. As far as me, Star Wars is what I want to know more about. Fable is what I want to know about. So there's a ton more games. If we didn't talk about your favorite game, leave it in the comments down below. We'd love to have that conversation with you guys. But that is the end, guys, of episode 170. So join us next week, guys, for episode 171. And until next time, guys, my name is Craig Perales. This is Mandra Montemayor. Cheers.
See ya.